Bienvenidos, señoras y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices. Head to BetOnline today to become a part of the team, and remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Bienvenidos, sangrones. I see we already got some people on the live here, so let me just get some business out of the way first. If you guys, I know a lot of you guys are already subscribed, but if we have any newcomers on here, if you are listening on the podcast, on the audio version of this, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Make sure you rate the podcast, write us a review. That will help us grow the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the notification button, hit the like button, leave us comments. That will also help us grow the show. Those of you that are on the live, if you want to help us grow the show, super chats. Super chats are fantastic. And super chats will put your comment at the front of the line. You know how this works. We have the patron saints of the Bleed Lows podcast on here who very generously like to give us super chats. So if you have something very important to say and it can't wait, hit us up with a super chat. So joining us on the show is the superstar. Canelo is joining us here, and Babyface is here. But we have a special guest. He's a celebrity. For those of you in Los Angeles, you guys know him as the King of Mexico. Dave, how are you, buddy? Bienvenido to the show.
Good morning. Right? This is what we're doing, right? In the morning. Sorry, guys. I'm just so used to doing everything in the morning that it's quite odd to be talking in the evening. Look, thanks for having me.
So I know those of you in the live might be sitting there going, Dave, the King of Mexico from the old K-Rock and Kevin and Bean show. Dave, do you have any fun stories you want to start us off in those days, or do you live in the future and you refuse to look in the past?
Well, I like to live in the future or live in the present. But if you have a question, I'm happy to oblige with. And if you have a question about anything, I'm happy to talk about what you want. What do you want to know? I'm an open book.
All right. Awesome. All right, guys. So you know how this works. First of all, Michael Negrete, Canelo hit 4 home runs in his debut for Los Bleed Lows High. He leads the league in home runs and has more than Ohtani. Canelo, can we get an update on your adult fast pitch league? Have you guys started playing games yet, or are you still in spring training?
Juan, I feel like we got to look at the East Coast weather. Just look up, Philadelphia area. It's still like 40 degrees. It's a little too cold for baseball right now. But yeah, so, we're getting ready. Once it starts warming up, we had a couple 55-degree days here. We're getting closer to games, but I don't think they start until April. So nothing big until then.
So there you have it. I'm sorry, guys. You're just going to have to wait for the stats. Canelo's league has not started, but once we'll get those updates and see how he's doing representing Bleed Lows High. First topic, guys. There's been a lot of talk about pitching, and one of the things I think that has gone under the radar is the fact that we haven't seen Emmett Sheehan all spring. And at the beginning of the season, I was convinced that Emmett Sheehan was going to get that 5 spot, but I think it's too late in the game now. I mean, the Dodgers are leaving for Korea. Breaking news, guys. The Dodgers are just in Arizona until the end of next week. After that, they're on their way to Korea. The season starts, and then they come back to Anaheim and LA, play a couple of spring training games before the season starts. So I don't think that's enough time for Emmett Sheehan to be ready to start the season. Therefore, and he's been pitching pretty well, I think it's a done deal. I think it's a worst kept secret Gavin Stone is getting the 5th spot, right, Canelo?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Emmett Sheehan a little bit a couple weeks ago, kind of talking about his workload. What's his role in the future, especially for 2024? And, I agree with you. We all kind of just penciled him in as that 5th spot in the Dodgers rotation. But, Brandon Gomes and Andrew Freeman even stated previously, like, it's not a guarantee that he's even going to be on the roster. Like, everyone still has to compete and get their spots. And just looking at his 2023 season totals, he was up and down between the MLB and then the minor leagues. He had 60.1, 61 and 60 and a third innings in the MLB last year, 53 in AA, and then around 10 in AAA, which totaled up to about 123 innings for the entire year, plus 22 innings in the Arizona Fall League as well. So altogether, it's a lot of, mileage on his arm, especially in his young professional career. So I imagine the Dodgers just taking their time with him. I don't necessarily think they gave an actual like injury report on him. They just said general soreness, which is pretty vague, but the Dodgers, are notoriously known for being pretty vague about injuries. So I don't think anything serious by it. I really just think they're just trying to manage his arm. And if Gavin Stone is ready to, and by all accounts, it looks like he's had a complete 180 from the Gavin Stone we saw come up last year. It makes sense that he'll make that at least the Korea opening day roster. Because I agree with you, Juan. I really don't think Sheehan, even if he does come in, say these next couple of days, I don't think he's going to be built up enough to be a starter. But for the Korea series, they only need 2 starters.
Absolutely. Dave, do you want to let us in on your secret as we're talking about spring training?
Yeah, spring training could suck it. Like, no one cares about spring training, right? I mean, you guys do, but like, I hate spring training. It sucks. It's almost like 3/4 speed baseball or 3/4 like minimal effort. No one tries. It's batting practice. The pitchers, I'm sure, are just trying to work on their control. It's batting practice. So I just don't want to watch that. I don't pay attention to it. It sucks. It's in Arizona. It's not even in Florida anymore, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't even want to go to a game. I'm sure it's cool, but to be there and get access to them, but nah, spring training sucks. Call me when they're back at Dodger Stadium and it's opening day and the games count.
Let me ask you this, Dave. So you've never been to the Dodgers spring training site in Arizona, then?
Never.
Okay.
And they share it with Chicago, so it's not even theirs. It's why can't we have our own? Just our own complex. Don't need to share. They're rich enough. Buy them out. Send them away.
Look, I had similar sentiments to you until I actually went to the Arizona spring training, and then I totally bought into it. I totally was like, you know what, actually being here, because I was like, why am I going to spend all this money on spring training games when I can use that money and apply it to the regular season? Because I'm about quantity, not quality. I want to be able to go to as many games during the regular season. So I'm not going to waste my money going to spring training. But I got to tell you, the first time I went to spring training in Arizona, I was convinced. They converted me. And I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. So that being said, Dave, then what do you think about this pitching situation that the Dodgers have? I mean, they made all these moves and we're sitting here debating who's going to be the 5th starter. I mean, are you pretty satisfied with what the pitching rotation looks like?
My perfect pitching rotation would be they get a good four starters and the 5th starters are just floaters. Like, why not have Clayton start every 7th game? And that way he's ready for the playoffs. Like they could just have bullpen games all season long, at least the first half, and then keep our pitchers ready. Like you were just talking about Gavin Stone, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have him be the opening day starter. Who cares? Because it's all about the playoffs. Let's get all these pitchers in. Let's get them work. The offense is going to keep them afloat. Like, they give up 6 runs. Cool. We'll score 10. It's fine. I think that they should approach it in a different way. Save the arms, save the pitches for the playoffs, and let's run deep and get that World Series win.
Well, I mean, it is true. And in the end, all that matters is if the Dodgers win the World Series, because if they don't win the World Series, especially this year, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people. And I don't know if you saw this, Canelo, but Buster Only, I believe his picks were the Yankees and the Phillies in the World Series. Am I correct there?
Yeah, and not even though the Dodgers, it seems like every year they're always favored by, the bookkeepers in Vegas. But, it's not a given. And I could see a situation where the Phillies, sneak in there. They are a different team in October, but like you said, the Dodgers, this is the year, at least not to win the World Series, at least to get to the World Series. So anything under than that would just be a complete failure this season, personally, if I had to, for my opinion on that.
So, being that you can never have enough pitching, let's move on to this. Are any of you guys on this chat, are you concerned at all about Walker Buehler? What I thought was very interesting, I know somebody in the chat said that it looks like maybe he's going to get into one Cactus League game. I think there's probably a better chance that maybe he might pitch in one of the games in the Freeway Series before the season starts, either at Dodger Stadium or at Angel Stadium. But what I found interesting was when he was interviewed, he himself brought up that he is aware of the narrative that's out there about him and that his rehab is not going well. Dave, when you hear a player recognize the fact, like, he didn't come out and say this, but it's like, I know you guys are talking a lot of shit about me and I'm aware about it. And is that a good sign when Walker Buehler is pulling a Kevin Durant right now on us?
Look, he wants, if he wants to be the villain, then let him work it out. Let him throw 3 innings here, 3 innings there in AAA, until he's ready. I think the Dodgers have so much pitching right now, like with the prospects and everything, they can hold back. And a couple seasons ago, was it last season maybe, they won the most games throughout the whole entire year. Who cares? It's all about the playoffs. So if we could have Walker ready at the second half, even after the All-Star game, let him just ramp it up, 3 innings here, 3 innings there, and then boom, do the complete games. Go for it. Go for your no-hitters. Do it all leading up to the playoffs. Let's slow roll it, and then it may not be pretty in the beginning, but let's slow roll it and get everybody healthy and ready.
Canelo, are you concerned at all with Walker Buehler?
Yeah, I mean, the part that concerns me is just because we don't really have a definite answer of kind of where he is at in his rehab process. We hear one thing from Dave Roberts, we hear one thing from Walker Buehler, we hear one thing from the media. So it's kind of hard to get like a concrete answer of like, all right, what is his velocity reading? How is his command? How does his arm feel? When will he start pitching games in the Cactus League or minor league assignment? Or when is he like planning to come back into the regular season? I think this year compared to last year, I was talking to Steve Webb, me and him write for Dodgers Beat, and we're doing our player previews, and I was like, what a difference a year makes, because last year they had the pitching depth in the minor leagues, but in terms of major league talent, they didn't really have much. So I think if Buehler was on this trajectory, like coming back now, like at this time last year, he probably would make the opening day roster. But they have the luxury this year to kind of just go with Dave's saying, they could just say, hey, we don't need you in April. We don't need you in May. We want you in that June, July, August, September, and then finally October, where hopefully you're playing your best baseball. I've been preaching for the past couple months. I expect him to probably make his debut sometime in mid to late May, similar to when Bobby Miller got called up. That way you can get him around 20 to 25 starts, and his arm shouldn't be falling off or anything. And then if it is, and say things don't go according to plan, it gives you a little bit of time to, prepare. Like maybe they do need to trade for another guy at the deadline. Maybe they do need to call somebody else up. They have options there, but we're plugging in. Buehler used to be our like 1 or 2 starter, and now he's going to be our 4th or 5th when he comes back. They can slow play him and take their time with him, and they don't need to depend on him as they once did. They have Tyler Glass now, they have Yamamoto, they have Bobby Miller, who they've all shown flashes of greatness so far this spring. So I don't think I'm too worried about it. I want to see when he starts getting on to the field in games and how he reacts. Because if things start, falling apart for him on the mound in terms of like when he's on a rehab assignment, then I'll get a little worried. But right now, I just think it's the same course for his rehab. He'll be here in May.
Maybe if I take myself off mute, it might work better. You can never have enough pitching, right? And especially if we're going to see these guys, if we're going to hold these guys back, look, I know the Dodgers said they're not going to do a 6-man rotation because of Yamamoto. But they do have Ryan Yarbrough in the bullpen. They are big fans of piggybacking. So I do think that will buy them time in the beginning of the season. But I understand your point also, Canelo, and that is that the fact that we don't really know, it's like, well, all right, is he just not ready? Or are you guys really just taking your time with him and trying to save him? Now, also the fact is he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. So I'm sure Walker Buehler's not going to want to be held back for too long because he wants to make money. And the only way he's going to make money if he can be out there showing everybody that he can pitch and that he is as close as he was to the pitcher he was before he got hurt. But I know somebody brought this up in the chat. I think it was you, Michael Carrillo, because you guys are like great detectives on social media. Apparently, and I saw this before you brought it up, Michael Carrillo, apparently Jordan Montgomery just followed the Dodgers on Instagram. Dun, dun, dun. And now Jordan Montgomery is still one of those free agent pitchers that is still out there. And I know this is the time where we always bring up Blake Snell, that these guys are, still not signed. Now, I know they're probably working out on their own, but you got to ask yourself the question now, if you do assign either Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell, if you're not the Dodgers, other teams are still going to be around in spring training for another 2.5 weeks. Is that enough time for these guys to build up and ready to start the season? Canelo has laid this out perfectly, guys, when we hear these stories of even if they give Jordan Montgomery a 1-year deal, even if they give Blake Snell a 1-year deal, what it's going to do to the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are already over the tax threshold. So whatever they pay them, it's basically double, right, Canelo? Whatever they offer.
110%. Would be the tax rate. So you sign someone for like 40, say Blake Snell wants a 1-year, $35-40 million deal. Well, you're getting damn well close to $90 million for that 1 year of Snell. So the Dodgers would have to ask themselves, does this really put them over the top to win a World Series? Because, if you ask me at the end of the year, if they won a World Series, I'd be like, all right, who gives a shit? But the Dodgers are looking strategically like, they can't spend stupidly with the money they have. Even though they've spent so much, it kind of like, who's spending $80 million on the tax for Blake Snell? Not many teams even want to give him $35 million regular tax. So that's something that they're going to have to ask themselves if they really want to go that way.
Dave, if liking something on Instagram, does that just automatically put everything on notice? Does this mean that the Dodgers are going to announce tomorrow and there's going to be a giant meltdown on Twitter that they have signed Jordan Montgomery to a 1-year deal?
I think Jordan Montgomery wants the Dodgers to sign him. So he's liking doing everything he can, he's putting it out there. He's manifesting it for himself. So I think he's putting the ball in the Dodgers court, so he's like, come on, guys, look, I'm following you. Let's be Facebook friends. Come on. It'll be cool.
So there is a method to his madness is what you're saying, Dave. It's like, I'm going to like the Dodgers just so I can get their attention.
Well, so he gets the discussion, like, everyone starts talking about it, and you'll get the sense if it's a good negative response, a good positive response, then maybe the Dodgers go, let's make this happen. If it's a negative response, they're going to be like, let's back away. So he's pushing the issue. So it's calculated, man. It's calculated.
I hear this a lot from Dodger fans, and they're like, hell, it's not my money. Go ahead and spend it all, because look, the Dodgers are spending all this money. They're spending all this money because they can afford to pay these people. Because if they're paying this much in payroll, can you imagine how much they're making? The Dodgers are making. This is capitalism, guys. But I want to bring this up to you, Canelo. First, I want to give you your flowers, my friend, because this is the reason why you're the star of this show. You have always told me, and this was before Lucas Giolito signed with the Red Sox. Canelo had always told me, stay away from him, stay away from him. That guy is an arm injury waiting to happen. And sure enough, we got the news, I believe it was yesterday, that Lucas Giolito is more than likely going to be out for the season. Does that not change things, Canelo? The fact that Lucas Giolito is out, will the Red Sox panic? Will other teams feel now they have a chance and maybe they end up overpaying to get Jordan Montgomery or to get Blake Snell? Or it doesn't matter? Like, something is going on. Why are those pitchers still unsigned?
Yeah, I mean, to give credit to myself, I did say stay away from Giolito. Just looking at everything happened last year, he is, I think this is around 11 or 12 years removed since his last Tommy John surgery, which, to have that longevity after the first surgery, credit to him, but it looked like something was going on last year. He had good advanced stats, but it just seemed like nothing was working last year for him. He ended up playing for like 3 different teams. And I thought that the Red Sox were kind of overpaid for him, and I was 100% glad the Dodgers didn't go that route. I'm way more comfortable with James Paxton. So I'm pretty sure the Red Sox are kicking their heels off letting Paxton go for over here for only like $12 million, when now they really don't even have Giolito right now, and they still have to pay him all that. I think his deal has like a player option that he'll probably just pick up, especially if he's out for the whole season. So, but in terms of how does it affect the free agency market for these last 2 pitchers, it does affect it. For the Red Sox case, I don't know how much it affects it, because I feel like even if they added Snell or Montgomery, they would go from a 5th place team to a 5th place team. So I don't think they have much leverage in those negotiations, or I don't think Boris has as much leverage in those negotiations, because they'll still say, hey, the commitment for this year, I mean, we're really not going to make much strides in our division. And if they're looking at a 1 or 2 year commitment, they may not think it's worth it. But it's definitely something that those Scott Boras and his camp have been waiting for. They're waiting for these little injuries that happen every single year, and then they'll pounce on the opportunity, hoping to get some desperate team. But I think the fact that it's the Red Sox, and they're not a competitive team as far as we know for 2024, it's not really going to help their case too much. But say an injury happens on the Dodgers, or like a competitive team like the Astros, some one of the good teams, they could make like a panic move. But I don't know when they're going to sign. I've been saying it for weeks. I don't know. It's probably just going to happen like Cody Bellinger in the middle of the night or something, and we'll just wake up to it. So that's about where I'm at with it. To me, the offseason's over. The Dodgers signed all the players they needed to sign, and we're focusing on opening day, which is in like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
I'm being told that we have a lot of new people on the live, so this is going to be a good time to remind everybody, if you are just joining us, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you like the notification button. Give us a thumbs up. And if you want us to read your comment, you want to move up to the front of the line, throw in a super chat. We will accept any amount whatsoever. Dave, I have to ask you, because I feel like this only happens in the NFL, where I see players hold out. I don't think I've ever seen a baseball player hold out. Like, I feel like a baseball player is like, I got to play, whatever, pay me. How, if you were one of these guys, if you were Jordan Montgomery, if you were Blake Snell, how long would you wait to sign? Like, would you wait until the season starts? Like, how many months into the season would you be willing to give up? Like, I get it. Like, Montgomery and Snell have made some money, but I mean, in the end, this is their job. I mean, there's no unemployment for them.
Yeah, it's a good question, but you gotta think like if you're signing, and I don't know how the contracts work. Like if they pick you up for the rest of the year, are you only getting paid that 3 months out of the 1 year contract, or is it for the season? Because I would wait till the All-Star break, right? Because then everyone has a rotation set. You know where you're gonna fit in. You know how many innings you're gonna get. You know how many games you're gonna start, or you know how many. Yeah, you're just gonna you'll have a better sense of what the team needs from you. But if you're up and coming and you want to get in there, then yeah, maybe you sign that 1 year deal to prove yourself and then get that bigger contract. So I just think it depends on your experience in the league.
That it's interesting that you say that, Dave, because I mean, Canelo, they're all represented. Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, they're all represented by Boris, right?
Yeah. Yep. That is correct.
I know Nando on the live just threw this out there. I think that would be, I mean, Blake Snell, he is the reigning Cy Young Award winner. If this dude can't get paid after winning the Cy Young, if he does something like what Nando said right now, where he decides to wait until the trade deadline, or he decides to wait until maybe one of these contenders get a major injury to their team, and then it's just like, hey, we got to panic and we're going to pay Blake Snell what he wants. I mean, that's crazy. I don't think we've ever seen that in baseball. I mean, we've seen it with Clemens, but Clemens was older. Like, I don't think we've seen it with pitchers that are healthy, have we, Canelo?
No, this is completely uncharted territory, at least in my time of watching baseball. It doesn't seem right. And like, obviously a lot of people are going to put out there, like maybe they should take like a 1 year prove it deal. But like you said, what else does Blake Snell, like if you're Blake Snell, what else are you saying you have to prove? Like you just won the Cy Young. You're going to go off of that and say, hey, I just won the Cy Young. This is my second career Cy Young. I want to get paid for maybe a deal that takes me to the end of my career, or at least more than 3 or 4 years. And I don't think he's going to take a Cody Bellinger type deal, because why would he want opt-outs? Like he wants to get the most guaranteed money he can right now and then call it a day. Jordan Montgomery is a little bit different because, you know, he is a little bit older. He does have a little bit of a history of saying, all right, he got better with age. And he doesn't have a qualifying offer attached to him. That's the whole thing with Blake Snell, is that if you sign Blake Snell for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, you got to give up a draft pick, and then you're likely paying him $35 million a year. And a lot of the teams that are interested in him or would be interested in him for a year or 2 years don't want to give up that draft pick. Like the Dodgers, everyone's preaching that around recently, but for the Dodgers, not only would they be paying double with the tax, but they would also be giving up a draft pick. But they're also losing draft picks because of how much money they've spent, and they already signed Ohtani, who also had a draft pick attached to him as well. So it's an interesting situation. It just feels like everything fell apart for Snell's market. The only thing I could think of is now that the Phillies extended Zach Wheeler, who was projected to be the best starting pitcher on next year's market, maybe Snell does say, hey, I guess I'll run it back and get another 1 year prove it deal, or opt out and then test the market again. But I don't know. I just don't think many teams are going to bite the bullet for Boris unless something dramatically happens to their current rotation. And I don't think that's going to happen.
All right. I want to get to this topic that you guys are bringing this up on the chat, and I know I'm just going to unleash the hounds right here. I see Gavin Lux's name being slandered a lot in the chat, and so far he is on the leaderboard for the Danny Duffy Award for catching the most strays. I'm posting this. I'm going to pose this question here, guys. I mean, look, we all knew they were going to go ahead and commit to Gavin Lux. We all knew that he was a defensive liability. We all know that, but I keep seeing this on social media that the idea of already platooning with Miguel Rojas is coming out. We haven't even gotten out of spring training yet. Like, the reason why that guy is the shortstop for the Dodgers is because of his bat. Okay. Nobody is confusing him with Ozzie Smith or Omar Vizquel or anything like that. Right. But I know today's game was really brutal. And I want to get into the Yamamoto thing too. So, because look, let's be honest too. Okay. Yamamoto's stuff was off. At least in that first inning, he couldn't get the splitter over the plate. And he could have been working specifically on the splitter today. And that's why he kept throwing the splitter. But in that second inning, no, he bounced back in the second inning. I believe it was the third inning where the left side of the of the infield just did not help him. It's not like they just really did not help him. And one of the things that keeps coming up, and again, let's act like we didn't, let's not be surprised about this. Lux has had a history of having throwing problems. Okay. So this should not be as a surprise to you. I just think at least, I don't know, for the first 2 months, you're going to see Gavin Lux at shortstop. I think you will see a late inning replacement in Miguel Rojas for defensive purposes, but I think the Dodgers will give him at least the April and May to try to prove himself and try to right this ship. Dave, you're laughing. Do you feel sympathy for the strays that Gavin Lux is? I mean, the man just got engaged, people. I mean, could you just let him enjoy his engagement? You guys are just like destroying him. Dave, what are your thoughts on Gavin Lux?
I mean, he has one of the coolest names on the back of a Dodger jersey. It's like Lux. It's like luxury. It's the Dodgers. So catching those random strays is funny to me. Defense. Yes, defense is very important, but no one's going to care if he's blasting, 30, 40 home runs, right? Like if he's driving in runs, no one's going to care if he has an error a week or something, So I think it's a little sad that he's catching strays, and he'll be okay. He'll be okay. And if they replace him at the end of the game, oh well, he got his at-bats in.
Yangi, you bring up a very interesting. Could we see eventually Mookie switch spots with Gavin Lux? I mean, look, with Mookie playing shortstop last year, I was not I know that you can't put Mookie at shortstop for a whole season. I mean, shortstop is one of the toughest positions to play. And when he did play it, he did play it well. I feel like the move to second base was to try to kind of save Mookie. But hey, Canelo, what do you think about Young's suggestion there that maybe we switch Mookie and just move Lux back to second?
I think he could do it for a couple games like last year, but I don't think he could do it for a whole year. But I don't think the Dodgers want him to do it. I think if you asked him to do it and then he planned to do it, he could do it. I think Betts could transition fine there. He's a middle infielder at heart. That's why he's going back to second base. And I agree with you. We've all talked about it. This move for Mookie to move to second isn't just to prioritize, give the Dodgers flexibility, but it's also just to kind of save Mookie Betts, to prolong his career. He isn't burning as much energy as he was in the outfield, but it's a funny idea. We may see it. You never know what's going to happen injury wise. They would rather have Mookie Betts bat at shortstop. I remember wasn't it Rojas was injured? They were both injured at that time when Mookie was playing short, right? Someone was injured.
Yeah,
it was Rojas on the bench. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's possible. Injuries happen. If Betts is a yes man, he will help the team out. If you ask him to move there, he'll go there.
Well, I think it's interesting what you guys are bringing up in the chat because, Chris Taylor can play short. Do you want Chris Taylor playing short? I mean, he did do it for a period of time for a while back when Corey Seager was hurt. Does that mean that, they do need to trade? Like Michael Carrillo says, they need to trade for a shortstop. All this is happening before the season even starts. And JT Flores, so far, you're in the lead for a comment of the night. I love this. You guys are all fucking psychotic. Let the season start. Let people settle in. This is spring training, not game 7 in October. All right, JT. I love it. Coming in with the fire. You speak your mind, sir. The other person that caught strays on social media today was Max Muncy. And what I thought was really interesting about Max Muncy's I think he said it either early over the weekend. The big deal has been made about Max Muncy's lost weight. He's in better shape, and that's going to help his defense. But I thought this was very telling that Muncy basically said, look, my defense needs to improve because guess what? Being a DH for the Dodgers in the future, that's not going to be an option. They've kind of locked up their DH position for the next 10 years. I've seen all these stories about how much work Muncy puts in to taking ground balls to be better defensively. I don't know, Dave, you tell me. I think, can you be made into a good defender? Is it just one of those things now where it's either you have talent or you don't? Like, you're either good at defense or you're just never going to be good at defense.
Yeah, I mean, by this time, you're a major leaguer. You've been playing defense your whole life. You are what you are. You're not gonna be a Gold Glove winning first baseman. But I need Max Muncy to be like, I compare him to Jonah Hill in TV and film, where I need the fat Max Muncy, right? I need him to just bomb those balls into the bay in San Francisco. If he's getting thin, then maybe he's gonna lose some power. He may have a little more range on defense, but we could give up some singles for some home runs, right? You know what I mean? Like if he's playing first base and he can't get to a ball, oh, okay, cool. Let's just turn to the next play. But we need him to hit the ball out or hit the ball far.
Well, I think that offensively, he's looked good in spring training. And I know, Canelo, you expect big things from him offensively, right? But when you start, I think, is there a strategy when you play other teams? They sit in the clubhouse and go, just hit it to the left side of the infield. Just hit it on the ground. We have a chance. I mean, I feel like this is the conversation that we have in Little League, where it's just make contact and, you'll have a chance there. But I mean, the Dodgers what are they going to do? They can't trade for a shortstop and a third baseman, right, Canelo?
Yeah, no, it's unrealistic. I'm not really thinking about any trades for either of the positions. I'm starting to see the Willie Adams hype videos all over my social media feed now. Look, I'm a Lux truther. I love
dude,
Lux.
why do you hate Willie Adams? Tell me the truth. Did he
I
steal
don't
your
hate
lunch
Willie
money, dude? Every week you come on this show and you shit on Willie Adams. I mean, the guy plays in Milwaukee. Isn't that bad enough? He's in Milwaukee. Go ahead.
I feel bad that he's playing, all the way up there up north in a dome. But yeah, I'm not on the Willie Adams trade. He does bring a lot more power than both Lux and Rojas, but he does bring better defense. But he's a guy that's similar to Max Muncy, where he's batting below the Mendoza line. He's not a contact hitter. Lux at least gives a better total hitter. He's a contact hitter that can hit around 20 home runs on it if he gives it full throttle. Has a high on base, is extremely fast. He still looks like he still has his speed even after the ACL injury, which is really encouraging. And I really just think it's going to take some time for him to get readjusted to shortstop. I mean, Doomstyle put in the chat, this is like 3 or 4 years removed from him playing shortstop at a regular day basis in OKC. Like, he's got to get used to it now. So defense is one of those things I think in baseball that you can learn over time. I think hitting you can learn over time as well. But with Muncy at the age he is at, playing third base for a couple years now, it's kind of what you're going to expect. Like, he's going to have errors, but he's going to make up for it with the bat. I think he's going to have a really good year. Everything I'm seeing in terms of how he's looking at pitches, how he's taking pitches, how he's swinging at pitches, and the barrels and the contact he's putting on, it looks like he's locked in at the plate. And everybody at camp has been saying the same thing. So I think he is going to have a really good offensive year. So I guess if you're looking at a large sample size over the course of 162 games, you're going to be okay with giving up those hits or those errors and everything and letting those guys get on base. If Muncy can hit 40 home runs, driving 110 RBIs, you'll take it. What really concerns me is if it's not cleaned up by October, that's where I feel like the Dodgers have been kind of eaten up in the past, because I can't really remember the last time they had an elite defense in terms of like statistics. I think the last year where they were top 5 in defense was like 2017. So it's been a while. So, and I think one of those things, I think defense is one of the biggest things to winning a championship. I think you have to have really good defense, especially on the infield and especially at shortstop. So I think Lux, I'm going to agree with you, Juan. You mentioned earlier, they're going to give him at least 2 or 3 months to figure things out. If it's not working and the bat's not showing, then they're going to look at other options. They are not, this is the Dodgers. They will look at all options if they really believe they have a shot to win this year.
LC, I want to address your comment here. What if Yamamoto has a no-hitter going and Lux blows it? Let me tell you, if that happens, Dodger fan will never let Gavin Lux forget that, because I will give you Exhibit A. Hanley Ramirez, who did great things for the Dodgers in a Dodger uniform, to this day, if you saw him at Dodger Stadium, the first thing people would say to him is, "You fucked up Kershaw's perfect game." Like, to this day, nobody forgets the fact that Hanley Ramirez was the one that fucked up Kershaw's perfect game. So if that happens, if Lux messes up Yamamoto's no-hitter, trust me, Dodger fan will never let Lux forget that. Look, I don't want to spend all this time on the live being negative, guys. I mean, come on, we need positive energy here. So let me change. Let's try to avoid some strays and let's get to something that will actually make you guys happy. How about the top 3 hitters in this lineup? Okay, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman. We saw today what happened. Those guys all got on base, and Federico hit a grand slam. Dave, does this make you excited to be able to see? And I know there's been a lot said, if you listen to the telecasts, that this will be like only the 12th time or something like that you've had 3 MVPs hit back to back. But this is like at the top of the order. So you're starting off a game and you get Mookie Betts, you get Shohei, and then you get Federico. Are you excited? You can't wait for opening day for that, Dave?
It's insane. It's like watching the All-Star game, right? Like, you're thinking right off the bat, like, I want Mookie to get a double and then just Ohtani to either knock him in with a home run and then Freddy back to back. Like, just not like this offense is going to be crazy to watch. And the fact that those 3 people are the best, and it's not like they just blast the ball. They have pretty swings. Like, it's such a sight to watch them hit the ball. So yeah, and the fact that I don't know if I could get there before 7:10, so that's gonna piss me off. You know what I mean? Like, with traffic, so everyone better get out of the way because we need to be there. We need to be there at 7:40 whenever the Dodgers get up to bat and watch those 3 lead off the game.
Absolutely. I want to address Mr. Seabad here. Mr. Seabad, I can't wait till Lux makes the All-Star game this year. I'm keeping receipts of this chat. You absolutely do that, Mr. Seabad, and you make sure you call out all these haters that are hating on Lux. Look, trust me, I know receipts exist. Okay, so I know you're going to do a good job of that, Mr. Seabad. Canelo. It's amazing to me, right? Because we heard that Shohei said at the beginning of spring training, I only need about 50 at-bats, and I'll be good to go for the season. Seeing him, this was the first time he actually played back-to-back. This guy looks like he's ready. I mean, the way he's hitting the ball, I mean, there was a point where he was hitting over 600, and I know it's spring training. Now he's over 500. But Shohei, he really looks good, and we saw him show off the wheels today. Realistically, I mean, Mookie Betts and Federico had amazing seasons last year. Is there a possibility that with Shohei in between those 2 guys, that those guys are going to be even better this year?
Yeah, there is a chance. I think the addition of all the hitters that the Dodgers added, especially Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez, it adds that much, power to the lineup. It adds that much. It's not even balancing anymore. Like Dave said, it's like an all-star team right now. Like, you're getting all-star after all-star, MVP after MVP. In terms of the top 3, that trio, it's going to be historically good this year, and that's pretty much like worst case scenario. You know, these are guys that have had consistent careers. Freddie Freeman's only gotten better every single year after, you know, just like a nice fine wine gets better with age. Mookie Betts, it seems that he's having a lot more fun playing baseball now that, you know, he's getting to do a lot more things, playing in the outfield, playing in the infield. Now he gets to go back to a position that, you know, he's said a lot throughout his career that he wishes that he could have played, and going back to second base. And from everything you're hearing from a camp is that he looks determined. You know, he keeps bringing up the postseason failures of the past 2 seasons, and he wants to right that ship. And then you add Ohtani, and this is a guy playing in the WBC last year, I think really opened his eyes about how much he really wants to win. And you essentially get to come to the best franchise that's shown how to win. They just have to find how to win in October. You know, they have the consistency of getting there every single year. So yeah, it's going to be great. And then in terms of how it balances out the rest of the lineup, Will Smith's probably going to have a lot of more RBIs this year. Maybe he's setting career highs. Max Muncy as well. Teoscar Hernandez has a lot to prove. He only has a 1-year contract. He's looking to test free agency again next year. So I think pretty much 1 through 9, this lineup is arguably, it's arguably one of the best in baseball. And at the end of the season, you could argue it's probably one of the best in baseball history. The combination of Freddy and Mookie last year was historically good. So it's only up from here.
Babyface, your name has been invoked. Michael Negrete, has anyone seen Danny Duffy or Babyface? I think he's comparing you to Danny Duffy. So come in here. The people want to hear from you, Babyface. Join in. Give us your opinions.
No, I mean, I agree so far with what everybody's been saying, right? You know, this lineup is going to be historic, right? You know, the Lux thing, going back to the Lux thing and the Muncy thing. Yeah, those guys need work here, but, you know, Lux has been out for over a year, right? And we always knew his defense was a little shaky, but it's going to take him a little bit to get adjusted. And, you know, Max Muncy, you know, I think it's going to come with the territory. Like Dave said, like, you know, he's not known for his defense, right? And it's probably not going to improve that much, but as long as, you know, he keeps it kind of under control, you know, I think we're going to be okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to go back to some of the topics we covered, so you can kind of hit them all. The Montgomery thing is interesting to me. You know, if they pick up another guy, you know, they can do it, but like I don't see it happening either one of those guys, Snell or Montgomery, at this time. But we'll see. Dodgers have shown this offseason there's really, you know, no stopping to what they're going to try and do or doing. So we'll see what happens.
You're on mute, Juan. We can't hear you.
Damn, I'm sorry. I'm a rookie. I'm new at this. It's been asked a couple of times, Babyface. Do we have any updates on La Princesa de Picolandia? It's been put in the chat a couple of times.
From what I know, she's doing as good as possible, right? I mean, she's still got pain and stuff like that, and but she's doing as good as can be, right? Considering all, you know, the situation she was in. But hopefully, you know, she'll want to join us soon. You know, I've told her, take your time, relax, get better, and then, you know, she'll join us one of these days. So just to continue to lift her up, and hopefully we'll see her soon.
Physically, she may be in a lot of pain, but I will tell you guys this: in spirits, she's back to her normal self, because she sent me a text message today ripping me a new one, and then she realized she sent it to the wrong Juan. So, of course, she played it off, and I was like, Princesa, how many damn Juans do you have in your phone? I mean, she hangs out with a lot of Mexicans. I want to address Doom Sal, because Doom, you're Sal, you're stealing my shtick. I am the Prince of Darkness on this show, but here comes Doom Sal coming in here saying, "Don't forget, Juan, Betts and Freeman's amazing season ended a month before October, and were no shows in the playoffs." And then you come back with, here's a question: is Betts overrated? Dooms, why? I guess that's why you're Doom Sal. Sal, why are you so negative? Look, why don't come in here with talking with facts? Like, how can I argue when you're dropping facts on me? Yes, Mookie, especially in September, cooled off. And we all know, you know what? I look back at the numbers. I didn't realize these past 2 postseasons how bad it really was for Mookie, he was 2 for 25. If you combine the last 2 postseasons, 2 for 25. So I get it, Sal. I get it, but I mean, these are the guys that are on the team. You know, if Tommy Lasorda, may you rest in peace, if he was still alive, he'd be sitting there telling you guys, Kirk Gibson's not walking through that door. You know, you guys got to figure out a way. Pedro Guerrero's not walking through that door. You know, you guys got to figure out a way to do this. Yeah, it's interesting. Mr. Seabad, Juan, keep missing the mute button. That chat's going to give you the Lux treatment and want you traded to the Giants. You're absolutely right. I tell you, Mr. Seabad keeps the receipts. I want to switch topics real quick here, guys, because I know you guys love bitching about things and complaining about things that are unnecessary. I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are on this celebration thing that's happening, because I don't know if they're just trying things out and they have not made a full decision. Kike looks like he's doing a kickball change move now out there, that he added this leg kick to it, that I don't know if it's flattering on other guys. And then I saw Shohei give the first base coach a head tap with his helmet. And I just, I don't know what's going on. Dave, were you a fan of the Freddy last year when they all started doing the Freddy?
Is that the one where they look like those blow up dolls? Like they're going, hey, that one?
Yes, that one. Yes.
No, I was not a fan of it. I guess I'm a baseball party pooper. I don't like the fun on the field. You know, I want the high five.
You'll fit in this show perfectly.
I want the high five, the fist bump, the butt slap, and that's it. You know, I don't need them banging their heads. You know, listen, guys, I'm a Clippers fan, and that gives me memories of like Lob City when they were doing the bump. So it's PTSD for me. Let's just play ball and get in there and high five each other and get on with the game.
Oh, I got to read a couple of these because these crack me up. Nando, I'm a chronic complainer. I hate my wife. Jose Ayala, looks like something from Richard Simmons sweating to the oldies. That's what that celebration looks like to me. So I guess what you're telling me, guys, is you're not fans of the celebrations. I think it would be great if they did do an homage to Richard Simmons, and when they get to second base, they just like yell out, "My calves are burning." Canelo, what are your thoughts on this pseudo celebration that it just seems they're not fully committed to yet?
Yeah, I think. Well, before that, I like celebrations. As long as you're going too. Look at me, I can't even talk today. As long as you don't go too over the top, I think it's fine. I think the Freddy was fun last year, especially in the second half, especially how good the offense was in those those dog days of summer. But I think the Freddy died when David Peralta did it when we were down like 11-0 in like the second inning or third inning, whenever he did it. So you could put the white flag on that one. I think this year's celebration looks kind of too similar to it. So I'm hoping they get these things just come throughout the season. You know, the Freddy didn't come until after the Dodgers like gala, and then they made jokes about it like a month later, and then it was on the field. So I think they'll figure out something. You know, there's a lot of good guys in that clubhouse, a lot of funny guys. They're gonna pick up something new, especially with whatever happens in the season.
Juan, do you think they'll bring the that samurai helmet that the Angels had, or is that just that's an Ohtani thing with the Angels, and they won't bring it to LA? The Dodgers don't really have anything when they do a home run. It's kind of like it's always an extra base hit. They'll do it, like on second or third. They don't really have anything for a home run.
That's a very good question, Babyface. I mean, what other cultural appropriation can we take to celebrate for Shohei? I think you're right in the sense that maybe they won't want to do it because it's so associated with the Angels. But maybe, who knows? Do we know what the origin of that was? Was that something Shohei started, or did someone
from what I saw? Yes, Shohei introduced that. Shohei brought it to them.
So maybe Shohei wants it. So then they're going to bring in that. I mean, who knows what they're going to do? But I think Yang Yi's comment is very pertinent here, where it's like, I like spontaneous celebrations, not a setup one. And that's, I think, what this feels like. What's happening right now in spring training is like they're oh, dude, it's like the touchdown celebrations, right? When they put Sharpies in the end zones, and it's just like, I'm a Barry Sanders fan, so it was just like, just hand the football to the ref, right, and be on your way. But yeah, I don't. I mean, Dave, would you be okay if they brought the samurai helmet and just painted it blue?
No, I mean that's an Angels thing, and you don't want anything associated with the Angels, right? Like they suck. So how about we find something else, like a roundhouse kick or something, or do like the Karate Kid butterfly kick after a home run on home plate. Do that instead. Make it fun if you're gonna do that. But yeah, again, not a fan of the celebration, so we could just maybe let it die and just get back to high-fiving. High fives.
I mean, look, if they do a roundhouse kick, it's either going to be Chan-Ho Park is going to come out there and say, look, that's been done before, or probably Chuck Norris will sue them with a cease and desist, and just be like, hey, we're not going to go ahead and do this.
How about chopsticks? Like chopsticks with like for sushi or something. Like let's eat it up. Like we ate. So like chop it up. Like I don't know. Let's try something. I don't know. I may be racist. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Maybe it's all right. It's all right. This is why they hate Dodger fans, Dave, is because of this segment. Okay, let's get to, before we start wrapping things up, I want to hit up some of these questions and statements that we have here. This team does seem very loose, and what I want to do is I do want to thank Japanese media, because a lot of the stuff that we see on social media is because Japanese media films everything. So they were the ones that caught Dave Roberts with the breakdance. Now, do you guys, I'm not hip, so I don't know what that move is called. I was sitting there telling everybody, because apparently I'm a racist also, that Dave Roberts was doing the egg roll, but I don't think that move is called the egg roll. Babyface, back from your breakdancing cardboard days, do you know what that move is called? The one that Dave Roberts did?
It was just like a backspin, right? He just like went down to the floor.
Is that what it's just called, a backspin?
Yeah, just from what I remember when I was a kid, it's like just a backspin around his back.
So what was the egg roll then?
I think that was more when you'd kind of, it's kind of hard to describe, but you kind of hold your hands like kind of over your kind of nut area, and you'd kind of flipping around kind of. I think that was the egg roll, something like that.
Okay, I see. All right. So DJ Jesse comes in here with, does it seem that the Vargas plays more than Vargas? Yeah, DJ, I get that same vibe too. And it's funny because Vargas got, optioned, and I feel like they're still giving him opportunities to play. But you're right. And I don't know, DJ Jesse, if it's just because Vargas is just having a hell of a spring, and I just don't see that happening from Miguel Vargas. I know he had a game against I think it was the Brewers, where he did pretty well, but I feel like what Miguel Vargas needed to do is what Vargas is doing, and it's just not happening for him, right, Canelo?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Roger off air, and I said it kind of just looks like, Andy Pages just leapfrogged Miguel Vargas. It sucks to say, because I mean, Vargas got every opportunity to get that spot, and they're trying to give him some other opportunity in left field to get that spot back. But, Andy Pages before his shoulder injury was intriguing to me, and now even after, he looks even stronger. He looks thinner. He looks more in shape. I honestly think by season's end, it's a lot easier to get an outfielder into this roster than it is on the infield. So I don't think it's out of the question that come October, I think Pages may be starting a game in right field for the Dodgers probably. And that really just depends on a lot of things. Like, does Jason Hayward bounce? Like, does he continue doing what he did last year? I'm not sold on it. I know you're not really sold on it, Juan. It kind of, in hindsight, looking back at it, it kind of feels like a wasted, like, what, $9 million? They could just give that spot to Pages, and that's who I would rather have playing out there right now. But yeah, I think It's definitely looks that way. It looks like Pages is the team favorite right now. And I don't know where position player wise, it's pretty locked up right now. So it really just depends on either someone having a down year or getting injured for him to make that spot on the team. So I think that's the big thing to watch. Once a player inevitably gets hurt and put on the 10-day IL, who's getting called up? Is it Vargas? Is it Pages? That's probably going to be interesting.
No, yeah, I agree with you. We're going to wrap things up here on this program. I do want to give credit to Mr. Seabad. Chuck Norris once did a roundhouse kick at a Dodgers game. The left field foul pole collapsed. Well done there, Mr. Seabad. Dave, I before we end the show, I mean, you joined us for the very first time. What was your experience like? Do you think you want to do this again, or you're absolutely going to wait until the regular season before you come back on?
I think I will wait until the regular season just so I know what the hell you're talking about, because some of these people are like, "Ooh," and I don't want to be a bad fan. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
but before we go, can I tell you? I'm sorry. Can I tell you about one story about my favorite Dodger Day story from the Kevin and Bean days? And it involves me.
Go right ahead.
So we used to do these things called Dodger Days, where we take over sections. And once we took over a whole right field. And I absolutely despise beach balls. I believe beach balls do not belong in the stadium. Anyone who brings it in should be banned for life. And so we were at the Dodger game and the beach balls were flying, and the listeners knew I hated beach balls. So I'm chasing them around, popping them, and I catch one and I'm about to stomp on it. But when I do, the beach ball was a lot tougher than me. My feet go up in the air and I eat shit in front of the right field pavilion, and everybody laughed at me and threw hot dogs at me. So, yeah, that's one of my favorite Dodger moments, even though I was the expense of the joke. But yeah, man, those were some good times right there. And I missed the right field pavilion being by itself and not being violent.
All right, two things there, Dave. One is, how long ago was that you did that?
Ooh, man, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years.
So that was probably when you were out there with the all-you-can-eat gordos, right? The right field pavilion used to be the all-you-can-eat section.
It was, yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like that part.
Yeah, so there you go. I love that Dave has just come out here on this show to just basically say, I hate baseball, but I love the Dodgers, guys, but I hate everything about baseball. I hate the beach balls and all that stuff. But
see, but that's where the misconception happens. I love baseball. I love watching the game. Let's watch the game, right? We don't need all the wave and the beach balls and, everything else. We don't need that. We just need to applaud, watch the game, cheer on our guys, talk to the outfielders, give them a little shit to the opposing players. That's the fun part of baseball. Let's eat popcorn and Cracker Jacks. I don't ever want to go back. Come on.
I love, though, that you did bring up the pavilions, because for those of us that have been Dodger fans for a long period of time, and Canelo, you're too young for this, but there was reputations about the pavilion. Okay, left field is where the left field pavilion locals, they all sat, and it was like you needed to be careful because you were going to get your ass kicked over there if you were representing the wrong crew. And then there was a period where they did an all-you-can-eat section in the right field pavilion, and that's where we got the right field pavilion gordos, all-you-can-eat gordos, because they would go up there and order like 20 hot dogs, 1 bottled water, please, right? And they stopped that. Babyface, they stopped that, right? Because they were putting the Dodgers, they were doing serious damage, all the gordos out in right field, right, Babyface?
Yeah, you'd see people probably go in the 7th inning, probably get like 10 hot dogs, like right before they close, right? I need like 10 hot dogs, like 5 orders of nachos, and they take them home to, for the rest of the week.
But I will say this, Dave, you're absolutely right. There was just a different level of energy out in the pavilion because, yeah, the cheapest seat was up in the top deck, But back in the day, sitting out in the pavilion was also reasonably priced. And that's the reason why you had the cholos out there in the pavilion, because they could afford that. And then, of course, before the game started, they were already drunk. They were already lit. So it was like, I know, and it was before they did the center field plaza. So they had a chain link fence back there. So it really did feel like you were walking through a prison yard. And I know some people are going to sit there and think I'm exaggerating, but Dave, you'll back me up on that. Did it not feel like, it's like, is this what prison is this an episode of Oz?
You're putting your hands through the chain link fence, be like, hey, what's up, fool? Like, what's it like over there in left field? And you were separated from the whole stadium. So once you got into the pavilion, that's where you're staying. That's it. But you remember Mannywood? Like, Mannywood was awesome.
Yeah, Mannywood was. Yeah, those were good times during dark days. So thank you for bringing up that memory, Dave. That's a perfect way to end the show. So guys, again, if you are on the live, make sure before we leave, follow us on YouTube, hit that notification button, write comments, help us grow the show. If you are listening on the audio and you missed the live, hey, make sure you join us on the live. You can join in on all the shit talking that takes place. I know somebody mentioned who won the Danny Duffy Award. Well, I think it's obvious, unless the judges on the show tell me otherwise. I think Gavin Lux won the Danny Duffy Award. Canelo, babyface, would you give it to anybody else?
Yeah, either him or Muncy today. It wasn't their day today.
Yeah, so congratulations, Gavin Lux. Not only did you get engaged, but you win the Danny Duffy Award tonight. So, again, guys, we can't thank you enough for joining us. And thank you to Dave, the King of Mexico, for joining us, and Canelo and Babyface. Yo ha sido su servidor, Juan Ramirez. We'll see you next time. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by betonline.ag. The game starts here. Nos vemos, everybody.